Hi everyone, welcome to another installment of Dublin Tech Talks. As always, we're brought to you with the support of Icon Accounting. Icon are the leading provider of all sorts of services for professional contractors. So if you are a contractor or thinking about contracting, you can reach out to the team in Icon for advice and support. Today I'm speaking with Graham Brocklebank, who is the CEO and founder of Peer Educational Technologies. Peer is an edtech product. It gives students with dyslexia an all-in-one platform and gives them tailor-made tools to address their unique needs. The net result being that it reduces stress and anxiety, allows the user to focus on content, comprehension, and promotes independent learning. Graham, thanks so much for joining us today. Nice to talk to you again. So just kind of giving a really very general overview in terms of Peer, and we'll talk about that in a second, but do you want to just give us a little flavour of your own background, tell us your story and how you've landed with this business?
Yeah, so I suppose the first thing I should mention is I'm a person with dyslexia. So I would have been diagnosed with dyslexia as a kid, and then I went through school and then went to school for people with dyslexia called Catch-em-Calling Town. So it would have been, I suppose I don't really like to do the whole category things, but they do have categories. So I would have been at this more severe end of my dyslexia. Okay. And then wouldn't have done Irish, that kind of thing in school. So I always struggled hugely with reading and writing, and going home and doing homework would have been an absolute war for my mum. Like, you know what I mean? Like, her not really, although she was very, very supportive, and she got us into Catch-em-Macaulay, which is the school again. It was a case of there is almost that little bit of not understanding, I suppose, not to speak bad of my mum or anything like that, but I've 6 other kids, and for some reason reading for you, you're just not remembering it in any way. And I think that's an awful lot of frustration I say as parents probably have as well. And then went on, did that for went on secondary school, then went on, became an animator. After a couple of years, then went back and started teaching myself computer science, and then went from teaching myself computer science to going back to college to study computer science, and found that essentially the assistive technologies that were given to me when I was in college previously, when I studied animation, and it had been almost 10 years at that stage, were literally the same assistive technologies that had been given to me. So there had been no changes, and we had iPads and everything, and iPhones had come out at that stage, and internet when I went to college first, the internet wasn't a thing. People, when you said, "Oh, I went on the internet to search something," people thought you were a nerd, or you were hacking space or something. But so it was just the technology had really stagnated. It was really cumbersome. There was little to no user experience. It wasn't made for people with learning disabilities, and I don't just mean dyslexia, but it wasn't made for people that have issues around remembering how to do tasks and concentration, so they really weren't really built for their users.
Why is that, do you think? Because clearly, I mean, this is not, it's not a challenge that has been recently discovered. People have been aware of this for a long time. So why do you think that nobody had made, investment or made a commitment to that in the 10 years that you'd been aware of that particular kind of set of tools?
It's actually a really good question, because it's a question I've asked myself multiple times. And the thing what I think it's actually 2 factors. One would be that the people that have designed it don't see user experience as a need. Where I would say most entrepreneurs would say user experience is first and foremost. When you're, especially with products that is very user dependent. And then secondly, I think it's very much sure, it does the job. So I think it's a disassociation from understanding the actual problem that the users are having. So I think that's kind of the 2 things that are really why it's stagnated, and there hasn't been any massive sort of improvements over the last couple of years.
And clearly, you've battled with this condition yourself, but you made it through a high degree of education.
Yeah.
I assume there's lots of people who just, it becomes too much and they disengage from the process entirely along the way. Is that true?
Oh yeah. So 40% of drug addicts are usually have dyslexia. It's actually, there's the European report out there about a year ago about and it's literacy, and adult literacy is a massive thing, and it usually comes back to when they get to a certain age, it turns out they're dyslexic, or when they go to prison, you're twice likely to go to prison if you're dyslexic. There's a huge, and then there's a huge drop rate. I think you're 3 times likely to drop out of college or school. So not even finish like your equivalent of your leaving cert. If you are dyslexic. And that's not necessarily just like, that's not necessarily saying that teachers aren't supporting students. That's not the case. It's the student isn't being fully supported with their resources. So the teacher is doing everything they can, but the teacher can't be there all the time. And then, as I said, my mom was like literally, when I say advocate, she would have been an advocate when dyslexia was you were seen as quote unquote tick. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That was what you were seen as. And my mom would have been an advocate for dyslexia back then. And even then, there's only so much you can do as parents when your child has it. Do you know what I mean? So there is that kind of, I suppose, to go back to it. It's really there's massive social impact of learning disabilities and people with learning disabilities, and then falling out of society, from drugs, alcohol, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So look, we'll get onto the product in a second, but as someone who had an idea, clearly very passionate about it and very real to you as a person, but what support did you avail of, or how did you go about taking that really good idea and actually making it into a business?
So I kind of did it. I suppose I did it kind of ad hoc at the start. I suppose probably the best way of saying it. I did my product. Peer came from my thesis. I went back to study computer science, and Peer came from my thesis. And my lecturer, I knew, who's actually one of my advisors, she said to me, "Oh, Graham, you need to pursue this. This is like a really good idea, and I definitely think there's something there." And she kind of advised me and kind of, said, maybe, talk around here, and gave me a couple of people to talk to. So initially I went to Leo, local enterprise office in Fingal, and did, the start your own business course, just to see what it was like there, and just to get an idea, because I'd never started my own business or anything like that. Found out about New Frontiers program, met Colin over in Blanche, TU Dublin, and did the phase 1 there, and then went on, did phase 2, and then went and did EIT Health. So, and then back to phase 3. It's been kind of a journey, I suppose. But I think the thing to remember, like, there is supports out there, but you do need to get to a certain stage before you get, sort of money in, I suppose, is probably the best way of saying it. But the likes of, say, New Frontiers, Start Your Own Business are great because you can do them at night, outside your job. You can find out, oh, is this for me or this not for me? Like, I remember going into phase 1, and I don't know if you know Alan Costello. He used to work for NDRC, very, very, very intelligent guy. And I remember him telling us, like, going through, this is what's going to be like, and then, like, going home and going, almost going like, oh my God, am I going to be able to do this? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is terrifying. Like, but it was funny because at the time I thought, oh God, like, I was absolutely not panicking, but I was like, oh my God, this is terrifying. Can I do this? But it actually forced me to ask myself a question of, am I prepared to literally put everything aside for the next couple of years to try and get this done? And, you do, I suppose, in many ways take a risk as an entrepreneur, like your own sort of, I suppose, career or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
But, like, you learn so much along the way. So I don't necessarily see it as a massive risk. But, like, that's kind of, I suppose, my journey, I suppose, to date. And then on to, obviously, CSF. I got CSF last year. So,
I think when when you've got a genuine passion for something and you believe in it so much, I mean, that, that's having that core will get you through most anything. Yeah, I think it is important to have that commitment to the business because it needs to be unwavering. So tell us about the platform, the technology. Who is it designed for? Who are the users? Who buys it, and how can it help people?
So it originally started out just for people with dyslexia, but we are expanding out to people with, say, dyscalculia, which is sort of, I suppose, dyslexia and maths is probably the best way to explain, or dyslexic numbers. We're doing research with Dyspraxia Association Ireland at the moment, and also ADHD. But it's really to support sort of people that are neurologically diverse or people with learning disabilities, like dyslexia, that kind of thing. And essentially the way it supports you is that it's a platform that's available on any device that supports you with multi-sensory learning. So reading with audio and visual, and then also spelling with voice, and then also text to speech as well, and a hybrid text to speech. Yeah.
And then from a user's perspective, how is this different from the legacy tools that you had used? How is the experience different?
Can I give an example of it when we were testing with the students last year? Yeah. So we went into CCC, Castle Community College, and we were testing with a couple of students there, and they've been using C pens. Some of them have been using one of our competitors. I'm not going to name that out, but one of our competitors, and we showed them how our text to speech actually works. And they were, kids are sort of 12, 13, 14 are very, they stand off, so they don't really say a whole lot. So we've given them the tablet, and we're like, this is how it works. And it was literally a 5-second instruction handed to them, and they were looking at it, and they're, messing around it. And I could see straight away, I was looking at as they were using it, and I could see the first girl, she was kind of messing around it, and she pressed it, and she went, and then she pressed it again, and then she started reading through, and then she pressed it again, and she was just like, straight away she stopped. She goes, "Can I use this for my exams?"
Oh my God,
straight away. And it was, she had been using the C pen, and it was Miss O'Higgins, who's the teacher in CCC that's runs learn support there, was just like, I that's like, honestly, it's like kids getting a reception like that from kids is like, you're on, I knew myself straight away. I was like, okay, we've got something good here, and it's meeting the need. Yeah.
And like, not to kind of labor the point, but the real world net, positive gain from this is the kids are engaged, right, and they're committed, and they stay in the system.
Well, yeah, and that's really kind of the goal. Is like, although we are a for-profit company and all the rest, but our agenda is very much about supporting people that aren't necessarily supported in society as much, and like, yeah, I suppose that is, yeah.
And then, so as you've moved through the last phase, and I know you're getting a little bit of maturity in terms of the business, but have you been surprised about anything as you've gone to the kids with the technology or the platform? Has your kind of understanding or ambition for what it can do changed at all, or any anecdotal stories where something has surprised you in terms of the user feedback?
The product has massively changed. Actually, in the last year, it's massively changed. And that's, originally we were actually just an app, and now we're a web-based platform, so we're available on any device. So in terms of our what our product can, like, I suppose, meet, or people it can meet, it's extended massively. And in terms of, there is something coming up. I'd love to talk about it, but there is something very cool that we
can get you back. It's fine.
Yeah, no, it's, and I'll tell you why, because I'm doing the research at the moment for it, and it's very much like, it's going to be a significant game changer in terms of what we're doing. And I think it could, like, there's no one out there at all that's doing what we could be doing, and it's going to be, it's not only significant advantage for, say, people with dyslexia in terms of helping them learn. I think for people learning languages, people learning Irish, German, French, whatever, or people without
Say
any
no
sort
more.
of,
Don't give the game away. Save me any editing later on.
Yeah.
But then, so talk about what you have today and the product that you have now. What are your ambitions now? Is it just to get it out to more people, and how are you going to go about that? What needs to happen to maximize the reach for you?
Yeah, so we're actually starting a B2C marketing campaign in January, and the goal is to, the mocks, that kind of thing is coming up, to get students using that. We have students in CCC using it, and we're also starting in January. We're trying to get it sort of like assessed, I suppose, by the Department of Education, so it can be used as a scribe or as a reader for state exams. So the way it would work is that if you say, well, we don't know if necessarily the starts going on, but say if it does go ahead this year, you would be in a room, and instead of having a person there, you'd have your exam in front of you, and it would read, our product would read for you, and then you could also write and help you, and that would also be sort of exam, for spelling combinations and that kind of stuff as well. Okay.
And then beyond Ireland, is this a crowded market space, or do you think that what you're doing is will be enough to allow you to look beyond this island?
It's funny when you say crowded market space. If you look at the surface of it, you say, oh geez, there's loads there. But the issue is, or not the issue, I suppose, the niche is that, like, you have companies, they do like text to speech,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have another company who does speech to text. But there's almost no companies that do both together.
Okay.
And that's kind of one of our unique points. And in terms of outside of we're actually launching in England. We're doing again our marketing campaign. We're actually Manchester and Ireland is our marketing campaign in those areas. And then we're also introducing languages at the moment. So, German, that kind of thing will be introduced. Right. So rest of Europe. So yeah, it's very much a worldwide thing. And I would like to clarify, dyslexia isn't just English, it's all languages. It's a text-based disability. So anything around actual text is the issue.
What have you learned about yourself through this, just in terms of, just taking this idea and making a reality, and, all of the pluses that come with that, but also a lot of, additional stress and anxiety as well in making that happen?
God, that's a really good question. What have I learned about myself? I suppose that I can do it. I'm not saying really silly.
Not at all.
Yeah, I this might sound silly, and I don't need to keep harping on with dyslexia, but you will often find with people with dyslexia, there is that kind of, if someone says, "Oh, you're wrong at something," or at that, it's like, "Oh, I'm not wrong." Do you know what I mean? And that's because. I don't necessarily mind people saying I'm wrong something as long as they have a reason why I'm wrong. But you have this sort of, when someone says or disagrees with you, that you'd have this thing that oh, they're questioning my intelligence. Well, they're actually not. You know what I mean? And that's the reality of it. But I think just the fact that I can do something like this, that that yes, I have a learning disability and all that kind of stuff. But really, I'm very capable of doing what I can, what I can do. Do you know what I mean? I'm very, very capable of being able to, create a product from scratch, bring up to idea, go out and research, talk to customers, get customer engagement, and all the kind of, fun and also not fun stuff, So that's what I suppose I'm proud of myself, I suppose. I should probably say proud of myself from, but I suppose all entrepreneurs are. You just don't take, I think the biggest issue with all of us is that we don't take time to celebrate the wins. You kind of go, "Oh yes, steady," and then it's about, okay, what next? And I think that's kind of, I suppose, maybe I need to do a bit more of that. But yeah.
Well, I think it's a far cry from war about reading for homework, right? So you've come on quite a journey. So you definitely should be proud. So we've covered off kind of what's next for Peer. Let's not talk about that. But right now, if somebody did want to get in touch with you about exploring using the products, they can just find you on LinkedIn or go to the website. Is that the best way?
Yeah, or they can reach out to info@peer.ie. And if they have other learning disabilities, likes of ADHD, Dyslexia, or dysgraphia or dyspraxia, just let us know, and we'd love to we want to get user engagement stuff as much as we can at the moment. So. And you'll often find that if someone has dyslexia, they sometimes have one of the other 4Ds, they call them. So yeah, anyone would be interested at all. Yeah, workplace as well. Actually, by the way, it's massive. So workplace. So
okay, so it would equally apply to workplace scenarios, would it?
Yeah. So we're safe and secure. So it's private. It's your own private workspace. I suppose think about it I suppose it's like Google Cloud, I suppose is probably one of the ways to say, or Dropbox or something like that. So safe and secure. You have your own workspace. Yeah.
Great. Well, look, congratulations on getting it so far. I'm sure there's really exciting things ahead. Really excited to kind of watch and see what happens next. So best of luck with it all, and thanks for sharing your story today with us.
Oh, thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks, Graham. Thanks again, Graham, for that. That was really interesting. Just another amazing Irish business making a real impact with people's lives. So we wish him all the very best with what's to come in that exciting new phase in the product life. As always, if you want to keep on top of the content we're sharing, you can join our meetup.com page, Dublin Tech Talks meetup.com. We will be getting back to physical meetups at some stage, but in the meantime, we're doing lunch and learns and virtual meetups, as well as more of the video profile interviews. Of course, you can follow us on our LinkedIn page and reach out to us directly if you've got a good story to tell or would like some more information on anything that you've heard to date. So we'll see you again soon. Thank you.